Hey, Alex Ensko here, your Jeffco Republican Field Director. Today we're sitting down with Vicki Pyne, candidate for House District 27 for her third interview. Vicki, you must like us if you've come in 3 times already.
I do like you. Thanks
Oh,
for
okay,
having
good,
me.
good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So we obviously have some questions for you. So let's get right down to them. First question, how do you see yourself representing House District 27's seat as the representative?
Um, the reason I'm running for this seat is because I've lived in the area for so long, and I've felt like there's a lot of times where we're not being represented, where our voices aren't being heard. Um, there's representation right now, I think, is selective, and it's by issue that is the favorites of the representative, and I think we're not as as residents of Arvada not getting what we want done. I mean, so our priorities have been around roads and schools and those kinds of things, and instead we get a little bit more of the special interest focus. And I think we have certain things that we need to see done before we can look and branch out to the things that sound nice to have done.
Okay, that's good to hear. So obviously, you don't think 27's being represented that well currently?
No, I think right now we need to see more of our voice. I think we need to see more focus on what is really important to the citizens of Arvada, and um, recognize that fringe ideas and um, notions that come from other states as being a favorite of the representative are not the things that really need to happen. We need to get to the basics of what is important to the people in Arvada.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that because there's a lot of pet projects coming out of that seat currently, and it seems like our Vadans are being forgotten about and ignored, quite frankly.
Right.
So, moving on to our next question. With all the budget issues facing Colorado this year, especially, and then in the years to come, what part of the budget would you fight the hardest to make sure that it's not ignored?
I mean, it's easy to pick pet projects that you want to see happening, and that you don't want to lose money on. But I'm dealing with this with the Apex Parks and Rec Board right now, and trying to figure out where we're going to make cuts, where when we're losing revenue, and you really can't pick things and say we're just going to save this whole piece, and we're going to take the money out of this section over here. It really just comes down to trying to pull money from each of the different areas and recognizing that you're going to have to tighten the belt across the board. But there are certain things that are priorities that have to happen around safety, around emergency reserve funding in case something else would come up in the future. We can't deplete that. Obviously, education is important and the funding needs to be there, but we need to really focus on what needs to be funded and where we can make the cuts. We're all doing it. We're doing it in our personal lives. We're doing it in our businesses. We're all hurting in some way because of what's happening with this COVID crisis. So it's not easy. It's not pretty, but that the cuts need to be happening. And we need to look at this on the a little bit of a positive side and say we're cleaning things up. We're focusing on the really important things, and then we can add things back in as we're able to.
Okay, that's definitely good to hear because obviously, like transportation funding is going to take a hit. As you mentioned, education funding is going to take a hit, and it's balancing that budget out to where everybody doesn't take that bad of a hit, but also making sure that that money is being used wisely and efficiently as well because it's going to be thin because our tourism is going to be low the next couple of years probably. Hopefully not, but the way it's looking right now, our revenue is going to be low. So that's definitely good to hear that you will have a conscience view of that and make sure that things are getting what they need. Our next question: how do you feel about a constituent who might have a different opinion from you, and how would you treat that person?
Well, I've always, and I say this a lot of times, even on the board when I'm talking to my fellow board members. Multiple opinions are good to have. It's good to hear a lot of different voices because sometimes we do get into that tunnel of focus on the way we think or the way we believe, and don't recognize other options or opportunities. And so having somebody come to me with a different voice, it's not somebody that I would insult. It's not somebody that I would look down on. I value everybody's opinion, and think that all of us need to have those opinions out there and to be taken into consideration. And then then we move forward and try to find something as a resolution that fits best for the largest number of people.
Well, and that's important because obviously, yeah, you're going to have different opinions, especially as the representative from your constituents. You're not always 100% going to agree all the time. And as long as you're able to have the conversation and not insult that constituent or, be inappropriate towards them in a way of basically disagreeing with them, it's important that you're tolerant and open. So, and I think there's a big difference between you and what Arvada currently has in regards to that. Our next question, what do you bring to the table that your opponent does not when representing the people of House District 27?
I have lived in Arvada for a lot of years, nearly 25 years, and my opponent has not been there near that amount of time. And not only that, but I'm here and I've raised my family here, and my kids have been in the schools. I've been on a variety of different boards representing a variety of different people. And when my opponent talks about public work, it's mostly around being the head of the HOA in her area, and I have everything from working in the school district and volunteering in the schools to the athletic programs to the Apex Board of Directors, the Community Services Advisory Board that I do for the county that works with different nonprofits in the area, and then also on the level at the city, the same kind of thing. And so a good mix of experience and advocacy work in the community that gives me just a lot more exposure to folks, and a lot of really good friends in a lot of different areas. I've been here for a long time, built a lot of really strong relationships.
Well, that's important to know, because obviously being a part of the community, that's how you're able to represent it, because you know its needs, you know its insides, you know its outsides, you know what people want. And the fact that you've been there a heck of a lot longer than your opponent, it's important to have that representation, especially down at the State House, where you're going to be making decisions for so many people out in Arvada. So, but other than that, that concludes our questions for you today. We want to thank you for coming in. One quick question, though: where would people find more information about your candidacy?
If you go to Vicki Pyne for HD27.com, that is my website, and there you can also get over into my Facebook page as well. You can sign up and help my campaign. You can donate if you would like, but you'll get the information there, and an ability to contact me if you would like to.
That's always a good thing, and then people can also get yard signs as well if they're already on the Vicki train.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Yes.
All right. Well, that's good, and we want to thank you again for coming in. And it's a beautiful day out here, so we were lucky enough to do our interview outside today. And everybody, stay safe out there. One quick thing that I will remind everybody: we are doing a flag waving on Monday. Memorial Day from 10 to 2 at the Bridge to Nowhere by Bowles and Wadsworth. So if you want to come flag wave for our fallen heroes on Memorial Day, please come. Vicki, are you going to come?
I haven't looked at my schedule, but I'm going to try to.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
So, but other than that, thanks again. Thanks for all of our viewers that watch our interviews. And Vicki, I'm sure we'll have you in throughout the summer again.
Thanks.